And welcome back, and look, if you missed game one, I wouldn't really put it past you, because it was done before you even had a chance to blink there, Tally. Another record smashed in this split. It was a record held for 2 years, done by yourself, and then teams decided, you know what, in this meta, of all these 80 carries, scaling is actually just fake.
Yeah, absolutely. You would think, you know, oh, it's 80 carry meta, all about scaling, all about hitting late game, but no, Skimmy, it's about winning the game before you can even surrender, pretty much. So, you know, even though Bliss couldn't beat Ground Zero, they did take away their records. You know, they are the new record holders for the fastest game in LCO history, so congratulations to them. But we are seeing the side flip. Double 80 carry bans, which, you know, you would consider this the handshake trade in the mid lane, are being banned away from Kanga. So, really curious to what Bliss want to, you know, prioritize this time with this champ being, gone.
Look at that, though. Look at that. Bio said, look, I want to see him play the Riven because I got something spicy for it. They banned it away. So they banned not only that, they banned away the Syndra, the best champion of Sovereign, and banned away the Lucian, which you'd say Vendrick
Rumble's up.
The most success on. With the Rumble up, because they've gone for the Harry Yone pick, it's just a freebie to build your entire comp around now.
How nice is that, Skimmy? You know, your mid laner absorbs triple bans. So Bio, who was the, you know, he mentioned that he can play the carry, he can play the facilitator, was the facilitator last game, but this time gets to play the Rumble, gets to play this champ who just, you know, so strong in the current meta, doesn't really have any bad lanes, and is just so good with the, you know, 80 carry powerhouses we are seeing all over the Rift.
Certainly is, yeah. It just functions so well, so adaptable to whatever you might want to build around it. And this might be the signs of spice. Let's see what they're going to do, because they open up with a Lee Sin, and now they hover in a Mumu, and I'm going to hold my breath on that one, because that would be a little bit too crazy. It does bring into question, what is going to be your mid 2v2, if that is to be a Lee Sin jungle, or if they decide, you know what, we do need to lock in, you know, some way of facilitating this, and Akama would not be a champion we've seen in a hot second. But the Aatrox comes back out to play, and if it isn't out of the Riven, certainly this would be Woodon's next best. Oh, okay, Cadence. Okay, mate. Procking the Lee Sin cosplay on stream. He's struggling to tie it up. And we're going to hold this camera for a little bit longer, but he's immersed.
This is how you do it, Skimmy. You know, you gotta be your champion to be able to understand, you know, how they function. You know, you're gonna have to really work on his Muay Thai if he wants to really get that Lee Sin, you know, skill set going for himself. But I was actually very curious to see if this was gonna be a Lee Sin slow lane. We did see the, you know, the Iron Will buffs, the W buffs on this patch. He's a lot more sustained in lane. Is gonna go to the jungle with this Aatrox being picked up. A Wudon favorite in the top lane. Not a bad matchup into this Rumble, and I think that this will come down to player skill or, you know, jungle intervention, because it can go either way.
Certainly can do, and it might then lend a hand to seeing a little bit more jungle priority if it is the Lee Sin Vi matchup. Certainly two champions that want to get to level 6 as quickly as they can for that all-impactful ultimate ability. But the Ezreal comes back out once more, and why would it not? Obviously, Violet's game showcased why it's one of his most successful and why it's one of his most played, and it certainly does put the foot on the other shoe, or the shoe on the other foot, rather. That would be a little bit of normal, wouldn't it? The foot on the other shoe. That would make no sense at all. But either way, what do Kanga want to respond with? And not an 80 carry at all.
Yeah, I think Renata is one of these champions who's just really good into dive. You know, we see the Vi coming out, so, you know, if the ult does go down, you know, that blanket coverage of, you know, you guys can't follow up because you have to really avoid my ult. Kevy can be put in a position where he's going to be by himself, and this could be a scenario where he does get picked off if he does engage too far, but he does have the equalizer with Bio, so, you know, even if he does go by himself, there is going to be that blanket, you know, the carpet going down onto these carries, and if they are not mobile, with, you know, so many of these champs being banned away that are, you know, these mobile 80 carries, it's going to be a very hard time for the Kanga carries to, you know, function in these team fights.
Certainly will be. It's going to be an uphill battle. If this, you know, it isn't already, it certainly is even harder now. They're going to ban away 2 AP options with the Karma as well as the Talia. Response being that of the Varus as well as the Ashe. And I think the Varus obviously makes a lot more sense. Certainly in the past, when on-hit Varus was the go-to, worked really nicely there with the Renata. So having to play second fiddle, not to say that Aphelios is weak by any stretch of the imagination, maybe not their you know, perfect solution to what they're trying to put together, and that's why they switch it up. They go for the Xayah at the last second there, and want to try and lean into some of those patch changes.
Yeah, and I really like the Kalin ban from Kanga. This is like a blanket cover because Xayah, very low range champ in the early game. Really bad into these, you know, Ezreal Karma, which was such a strong 2v2 in times past. And Renata, really good into his mid champ. So surprising that Aladoric does go for the Leona. It doesn't probably really care about his 2v2 because, you know, a lot the team comp functions a lot better when he's on these melee champs that can engage and can set up the LeBlanc, which, you know, Harry had so much success on, because you all remember how hard it was for Katsuri in, you know, weeks past to deal with this LeBlanc that Harry was playing.
Absolutely. It was, yeah. To say it was strong would be an understatement. He was literally one-shotting people, and they were playing as safe as you possibly could. Really, like, you know, hanging out by their chickens whilst we're working on the Baron. It was certainly not fair. But either way, Lissandra is the icing on the cake here for Kanga. They've got themselves a chance to try and really lock members down with the Frozen Tomb, with the, you know, hostile takeover, and I say, you know, if you're fed, then we can look to try and use that against you. So it's an interesting time here, and I think to your point about the Leona, look, we didn't see too much aggression in the laning phase. It kind of just worked itself out, but once they started to group up, I'm sure, as you mentioned as well, the Leona's really going to showcase its true potential.
Yeah, and I really like the Lissandra response to LeBlanc. I think that in the past, this was a really good matchup in the 1v1 in isolation, but kind of fell out of meta when LeBlanc, just got buffs to her, base damage and a cooldown. So Lissandra wasn't really able to match that. But with the buffs coming to 14-13 on Lissandra, AP ratio on the Q, so a bit more damage in the trades, plus the 2 seconds off the W at rank 1, such a big deal for Bliss because now she can always match aggression coming out of the LeBlanc. You might not have to go for that aftershock and be very defensive in your lane. You can go for the electrocute, another keystone that was buffed, so does have potential to completely blow up this LeBlanc if she mispositions in these fights.
Well, let's see then if Harry grants him with that possibility, if that opportunity is ever there for the taking, or if for Bliss it really is a case of speed running their way through this series and turning their attention towards the playoffs. This is Bliss's last game of the split. Same is there for Kanga as well, and a chance to showcase what all 6 weeks of gameplay had to offer, and a chance for us to see just how strong Bliss could be going into those playoffs as well.
Yeah, so we see Bliss going for priority on the bot lane. I think that, getting first access to the wave is so important in melee versus, range support matchups. Being able to get pushed when you're playing the melee champion, such a big deal. And Ezreal, as a champ who can, stack up that passive, spam those mystic shots, keep that attack speed, will find priority in the early game, especially against these champs like Xayah who don't really have the same power on the wave. So it's really nice to see that they are, playing to their win conditions, and this is going to be Kevy piling to bot most likely, and, playing around the priority they does have on the map.
Minions have spawned.
So moving in the name of the game, and if we talk about priority, we talk about level 1 shenanigans. Already the flash being burnt there from Vendrick Xayah. Not the best start he would have been hoping for. And the pressure that comes from Eladoric, if it's not the Rakan, Leona, in my mind at least, would always be his second best. That definitely makes things a little bit harder for them. We'll have to see if that translates elsewhere on the map though, because you've already mentioned how volatile mid lane can be. Top lane also the same too. So junglers definitely have their work cut out for them.
Yeah, and I'm really curious to see, so, something that happened there. Vendrick blew his flash level 1. Both Bliss bot lane members still had the flash, and we do see Kevy starting on the blue buff and piling down. I want to see how well Bliss can stack this wave and play for the potential dive onto Vendrick in the early game, because this is something that we always, wonder about with Bliss users. Their early games aren't the best. They can be quite shaky, and they aren't, finding these really crucial advantages from these little, niche scenarios that they do find themselves in the early game. So I'm really curious to see if they are able to pull this dive off cleanly. Are they able to stack this wave cleanly? And can they play these early games as well as we are seeing from the other teams at the top of the ladder?
Absolutely, because you would assume that, unlike the other teams, Kanga shouldn't be able to try and punish you as much as we would expect thereafter. Level 2 rushed, found nice and easily. The target had to be Xayah, and that is the one that has copped all of this damage. Yes, they're going to be sitting on a ward, but I don't really think that's going to be too helpful because they're already, with no potions, or actually only one biscuit, is still going to take the trip back home to base.
Yeah, and we'll see if Bliss do want to, hard crash the spot lane, make him miss some minions, or they're going to keep stacking this wave because, Vendrick will be coming back to lane level 1, and he's going to be missing so much out. But we see that Kanga are playing on the top side, trying to punish fire, but this is such a hard or tall task for these members, as he does have the ignite. He's going to be pretty comfy going for this 2v1.
Cadence, he went out of the bush a little bit too early, furiously, then you saw pings coming out from the Bliss side, and to your point as well, Bliss are already proxying away. Forget the level 1 or the flashless dive. We forced you back to the fountain. You're completely zoned. You're already at your tier 2. And Kevy's just got a little bit of a helping hand to try and get this one. And Zenith Blade crucially misses, but Kevy doesn't. And, well, Vendrick, your life has gone from bad to worse because there's first blood.
3.5 minutes in the game, and he is still level 1. He was only able to find experience from those first 5 minions. Cadence is down on the bot side here, but they're going to keep taking these fights. And if there is no impact coming out of Sovereign, who, as he has already committed the teleport to the mid lane, thanks to Harry doing so good in the 1v1, this might just be a continued proxy going on.
nobody's coming to help them. That's the problem. As you say, there is no TP. There's a Lee Sin that's hovering, but the Lee Sin is also falling further and further behind in comparison to that of Kevy. So to say they got their work cut out for them would be one of the biggest understatements. But look, he's hit level 2. We can all finally clap our hands together and say congratulations. And, well, they're going to be very lucky they didn't stop actually Violet there, who will be able to then pick up that tier.
Yeah, so doesn't find that, we'd say the best Ezreal base in the tier Sheen, but does find himself double longsword, going to come back with the, huge item advantage already. And once again, we're seeing the same story as last game. Ezreal really good in the early game with the Prestige attack, paired up with an aggressive support who we thought wouldn't do too well in the 1v1 against the Renata, but is able to find that flash advantage, able to find the priority on the wave, and Vendrick, no flash again, is getting flanked by Aladoric.
Oh, no, Vendrick. Can you dodge it? Kevy's preemptively flashed, rocking up with that Justice Punch, and it's like a case of, can we hit the Blade Caller? I'm furiously working, anxiously hoping that the Blade Caller finds the route. It'll lock down Kevy, but stuck between a rock and a hard place. He does what he can. He receives the ballot, and it procs successfully. Absolutely against the grain of play. They've turned it around and they found 2.
Yeah, really well played by Vendrick. Doesn't commit upwards where he's going to meet Aladoric and tank that stun to the face. Goes down to the alcove, buys as much space for himself as he can because he knows his team is collapsing and finds that, buffed Feather Caller. So much damage there, with that bailout coming out of Gaben, they do such a good job to, clutch up that fight.
Unbelievable. Let's run it back one more time because it looks like, almost like we're writing him off saying, yep, he's dead. He's collapsed on by 3, but just in the nick of time is the cavalry rocking up with Cadence and Gavin.
Yeah, and this is just because Eldor pretty much missed his Zenith Blade. He wasn't able to get onto the Zaya, find that window where they had tempo from, a bit of a lead on the map movement from them. And we see Eldor going on the turret without the flash, but such a tanky champion doesn't really care.
Very, very tanky, and thankfully only level 3, so you don't want to tank more than really 2 turret shots at this point of the game. Harry, obviously in his comfort zone, already up by a commanding 20 CS lead. He doesn't need jungle or Aladoric intervention because he's doing it all on his own.
Yeah, one of the, advantages of this matchup, in the 2v2, very favored for the Lissandra, point and click lockdown, very good to pair up with Lee Sin who has such high damage, but in the 1v1, LeBlanc has really high base damage and much lower cooldown, so if we do see Harry put more points into that queue, he's going to be able to outrange the Lissandra, has access to that, combat summoner. It was just much more favorable in the trades with Electrocute, whereas, Comet on Sovereign, better at poking, not going to be able to do the same damage output that Harry does in these, all-ins.
He's such a pest as well. That chain so close to connecting, but the real objective there was to interrupt the base, make it even harder and harder for him to try and sync up these waves and find any kind of answer back into the SWAT. And playing a dangerous game now is Sovereign, down on 20%. Taunting the idea that, Harry, you could look to try and force a fight here. Yes, I can self-cast that Frozen Tomb, but knowing that you're having to play so defensively, I don't think really Harry can. It's because he nearly gets the one-shot just in time. Is that self-cast the ultimate? He's got no mana now, so that 2v2 power is no longer a real talking point.
Yeah, and this is the hard part of the Lissandra when you get low health. Is like, oh, do I want to ult him? I could potentially die though. But if, as we do see the self-cast on the Frozen Tomb, just gets nothing for it. And seeing another all-in on the bot side, this is, one of the strengths of the Renata, being able to disengage the Leona. Really, really good at, dealing with these champs who dive onto you with the handshake, throw you off. I was going to the 80 carry, and, from how bad this looked at level 1, we do get to see, a slight, grace period for the Kanga bot lane.
Better than nothing, to say the least. Blade Caller's already been burnt. Aladoric jumps in at that same time, which is a interesting coincidence there, given that they should have had all the lockdown as a result, but Violet still continues to be that spell slinger. Arcane shifting very aggressively forward and constantly saying, what are you going to do? I dare you to try and punish me. It's easier said than done at this stage, though, because we talk about the mid lane CS deficit. The same certainly true in the bot lane as well. Handshake just out of range. And this early on, I'm sure Aladoric once again is thinking, I just want to leave this lane and let you do that 1v3 montage play again.
Yeah, and that's one of the strengths of Ezreal Skimmy. Like, you can, when you find leads, or even other scenarios where he does find that there's items where he can clear out the wave from range, you can roam as the melee support. And, this is one of Aladoric's greatest strengths is, finding these roam timings, finding these engages onto the, the mid lane, impacting the grub fights, just making sure he's on the map. And you see him already invading, being in position to find Cadence if he does face check this blue buff.
Let's see if they dare entertain an idea. Very scared of the opposition, are they? The bot lane of Kanga already disappearing, and Cadence pops his head in, drops a wall, knows that they're taking his blue buff, but really can't do much more than just simply watch it be denied. And really does feel like the easiest series for Kevy to try and pilot, given the skill discrepancy. He's able to pick up every objective with little to no contest.
Yeah, we see Cadence constantly hovering like his lanes. He really wants to be able to find this, pick onto his lanes, but, early in the game, we saw Bio do a really good job at skirting the aggro range of Kanga, and we'll see Harry once again as he is putting points into the queue. He's doing such a good job at impacting this lane. But this fight is happening now. This is where finally the Kanga members pop off.
And he's stolen it away with the smite. Cadence has found something. He falls on down as a result of this one. May have baited this team into a false sense of security. Double kill again. We've seen this story before. Tally, Violet, already 3 kills to his name. If he gets a base off, we're hitting that 10-minute Triforce yet again.
Yeah, he is online once again, but I was touching on the point that finally Kanga found a skirmish. They found lockdown, but they are going into that 2v3 because there is so much bot priority coming off of the Bliss bot lane just from their power in the 2v2. Harry once again with the 3 points into that sigil is going to do such a good job at playing range. This is one of the strengths of the new LeBlanc. You do not have to max that distortion to be, a strong champ anymore. You can put points into the queue early game, which lets you deal with these, range champs like the Ori, the Syndra, who just do a very good job at skirting around your distortion and making sure your only damage can come from the chain and the sigil.
Yeah, which I guess becomes the skill component of Harry trying to really outmaneuver you, figure out your movement tendencies, and look to land the full combo and take you down in a heartbeat as well. Violet going to find himself in a potential 1v3 here as Cadence continues to hover, protect, and be in the right place at the right time. Unfortunately for him, no fight was to take place as we get a rare opportunity to see what top lane looks like. And yet again, another massive CS deficit. All there to try and favour Biopanther and the side of Bliss, who are already up by 4k gold. We're only 10 minutes in. Adaldork's been unleashed to roam around the map. They don't know it, just stage Kanga. And Violet, in a rare form, is going to be forced to try and zone himself away. Here we go, though. The dive is on. The free man teased that for such a long time. They were waiting for Kevy. And once he's there, the kill is confirmed.
They didn't have access to either Ignite on the Leona or the Rumble. So, playing it safe, waiting for Kevy, make sure the dive is guaranteed. Harry playing aggressive on the mid lane again. Sovereign, unable to find that Frozen Tomb. Harry, first time having to blow his flash in, all the aggression that he is pulling out in the 1v1, but has access to that, the Merc Tread. So even if he does get caught, just has to trade his flash and he's always going to be sitting pretty.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of respect shown there to say that, I can see that Lee Sin is going for the gank. Oh, maybe I've spoken too soon. He still gets the kill anyway. It doesn't matter. Caden's able to hit the ground and slam them down in a jiffy. No harm, no foul. Flash burnt and Blade Quarter to follow. Multiple summoners burnt in a rare sight of everybody getting aggressive, and it might not end just yet because we go back to top lane. Kevy off a reset says, I got the Eclipse now. You died early before. You die even quicker this time. There we go. 2 kills to the Vi as Bio just wishes 1 kill was on his name. Now goes the Solar Flare and another kill in the mix. Everybody at once decides to get rowdy.
Yeah, we see, 2 ults being committed, 2 kills being picked up. Well played to Kanga to finally find that, pick up onto Harry, but it's just not going to change the mid lane dynamic right now. He's doing so well in the 1v1, and as this matchup does become quite one-sided when, one member does really well in that, individual 1v1, so well played to Harry to be able to create such a, strong lead in a matchup that is quite susceptible to him falling over with jungle intervention, so well played to him, but by not even committing his ult to that kill we see onto Wudon, we just see the Assault Bounty coming out of the Vi. Easy pick up for himself, going to come back to lane with, such a nice inventory. Having access to the ult and the Ignite might find himself a solo kill as this game goes on.
Yeah, 10 kills in 12 minutes, a little bit slower compared to the pacing of Game 1, which really became a bloodbath very, very quickly. This one with some of the curveballs and those champion pools certainly allows the players to entertain those 1v1s. Glacial Path is to be interrupted. The Tether Chain is good enough. Harry waiting for those cooldowns, hunting for the distortion, and there it is. As simple as you like it. And Kanga really now struggling to find one lane to try and empower.
And he just didn't have access to Frozen Tomb, just comes with cooldown now, so Harry, as the LeBlanc, much lower cooldowns than Lissandra. Lissandra really needs those, big tools to be able to deal with the LeBlanc in the 2v or 1v2 scenario, but Harry doing a really good job, finds out that solo kill, and we might see a dive happening onto Cadence in the mid lane right now.
Certainly will do. Out goes the kick. The Dragon Rage looks good, but it doesn't really matter because Kevy says, I'll do you one better, and I'll take you down before you take him. And with another game of 6 Void Grubs going the way of Bliss, they are the favorites, and they are finding these kills, which just gives them so much free time just to get all these plates before they disappear in 30.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the strengths of Bliss. They are so good at, individually laning. A team that finds a lot of plates in their games and just do a really good job in the laning phase to be able to bridge that to the in the mid game. But dive going to them, Skimmy.
Perfectly done, no, perfectly done. Violet. Oh, does he die? Oh, they're so close, both incredibly low.
Sovereign.
The Blade Caller, the Featherstorm, it was nice, just out of range again. And Aladoric says, die. Oh, fall on down, run, Violet, run for the hills, survive. Harry no doubt's thinking, don't you dare feed this Lissandra. He goes back in, Violet's a madman, sidesteps out of the kick. That's not going to connect, sidesteps one more time. And so much has been afforded to allow Kevin to finally show up and play cleanup crew as the janitor.
Oh, and just when we thought Sovereign finally found his angle to get back in the game, Aladoric does a really good job to, sacrifice himself, make sure that the Frozen Tomb is blown onto him, which allows Violet to have some space to, create a lot of damage for Kevin to be able to come and clean up and find himself that easy double kill.
But it's just so crazy from the onset of that play, right? We're just solo flaring underneath the tower, going in for the engage and respecting it. Yeah, hostile taper could really ruin my day, but I simply do not care. This time the equalizer goes down, drops him to 40%. Big Ignite already expiring. It's as easy as Harry to say, thank you so much, my wonderful top laner. I'll be helping you pick up this one.
And that's 6 grubs onto the Bliss members, another tower picked up. Aldorf sitting in the bush. Vendrick does not have access to any tools that will get him out of the situation.
That's not the pathing Vendrick, a little bit too greedy and very, very risky, and Bliss so well versed. Waste no time in punishing that. The play doesn't look to be over just yet though, because they're going to push them even further out of their own jungle with a True Shot Barrage, as well as a blue trinket to reveal nowhere on the map is safe.
And this is when we expect the lead to really snowball between these teams. We always talk about, that mid-game veterancy for these, top teams like Bliss against Kanga, who is, known for just being all right in the laning phase, especially against these top teams who are just so good in these micro scenarios. So I really expect Simi just to kind of blow out of the water, where we just see Bliss picking up all these objectives, side lane turrets, doing a really good job at playing the side lanes in the mid game. And I think Aladoric and Kevin are going to be these major tools that will be the real ending force for Bliss as this game goes on.
Certainly, they are the driving force of what gets the fight started, what plays cleanup, what really has projected them into a 10k gold lead this early on. And whilst we're not going to be shattering any speed records in back-to-back games, certainly a case for them to showcase a different example of what they can do with some very familiar champions in their arsenal. And I suppose a case of you shouldn't allow us to get a first pick rumble, because look how easy it's been for us to play now. Yeah,
and I think that is, I agree wholeheartedly with that. I wouldn't, as a player, I would not want to give any team rumble. I just think it's a champion who doesn't really lose lane to anyone, and potential kill onto Violet here though, so I'll hold my point.
Here we go, they literally throw everything in the kitchen sink at him, and Violet will burn the flash, burn the heal, but won't survive. They held that Frozen Tomb greedily because they thought they could get a second kill, and right they were. They'll get 2 in the end. And it is a little bit of salvation, a bit of a silver lining, but certainly still a lot of work to do.
I thought it was questionable that Kanga didn't decide to go forward onto Harry when he blew the distortion, but he does find the kill onto Sovereign. But yeah, back to actually no, I'll hold my point, Skimmy, because there was more action.
Not back to the point. We continue. We do continue. Bai says, I want to get in the mix of these 1v2 shenanigans. Burns the flash. He hops across as well to follow, and in a safeguard to make sure that we're all being nice and mobile. The equalizer used in his dying breath. And thankfully for him, it's Cadence looking to try and run away. But you've got to be always scared of this LeBlanc, because they just have so much damage.
That is a lot of damage to me. That really hurts. But, okay, back to my point. I was curious that Kanga didn't decide to go forward onto Harry there where he blew distortion in the bot lane, but they decided to collapse onto mid wave as fast as possible. And I think that caught Violet off guard. He wasn't really expecting the, the side lane with no priority to be collapsing on him from bot side. Does fall down, does blow the flash, and they do get the shutdown onto Kevi as well. So really nice, consultation prize for the Kanga members. Still extremely tall task for them to be able to come back to this game, and probably one that might be a mountain that's too hard to climb, just based on what Harry is really doing on this map right now.
Yeah, it's given it a little bit of traction though, a little bit of room to work with, a bit of very much important gold on the right places at the right time. And Woodon says, I just went in for a basic ability and suddenly get pounced upon by 4 members. What is this? And that really does demonstrate, if we look at the map right now, where are the wards for Kanga? They literally can only see these minion waves coming on in because everything inside their jungle is lit up blue.
Yeah, and like this is just really nice teamwork from Bliss. You know, even though we do see them falling down, being a bit messy in like the side lanes, they always reset, come back on the map, and do a really good job at finding picks, punishing members who shouldn't be in certain positions. We see Woodon a bit too aggressive on the side lane when he has no one from his team to back him up there. But all the Bliss members are ready to strike. They're ready to completely blow the map. You know, out of the water right now, as we do see double inhibitors already being taken at 19 minutes.
Look, I was waiting to see if Eladoric had his driving license there, looking to try and drift Shelly out of the top lane into the mid lane, crashes right up against the wall, and look, we'll forget about that one on this occasion here, mate. As we look to try and end the game, it would seem. 6 scrubs make it ever so easy to try and do that. Those waves have been eviscerated, and same for Cadence, who just decided to jump on in. And unfortunately for him, this was a no-jump zone.
Absolutely not a jump zone. The Equalizer going out, doing a bit of damage to Vendrick. Doesn't have access to the ult. I think this might be its gimmick.
I think it will be. Hostile takeover looks good. It locks down a few members, but not enough to actually really punish them with that auto-attack damage as a result of it. Yes, they'll find one. Unfortunately, it goes in the hands of Gavin. The person who would have liked to pick up all of that gold, but it doesn't really matter. Harry says, well, that's just a cheap recall. Back to base I go, and he picks up the Magi.
The handshake, from the grave, from Gavin, picks up Harry as he distortions forward. So they do get the shutdown onto the LeBlanc, so that means that they cannot end the game without their crucial member or their major poke threat from the LeBlanc right now. Just quite a nice base defense from Kanga. See, Vendrick doesn't have access to the Feather Storm or his Splash, but there's a really nice handshake here that lands onto Harry, and this is the main reason they're able to hold on these last couple seconds.
I don't like the Equalizer, quite honestly. The position it was placed in made it very awkward for Kanga to group up and try and retaliate back. So as soon as Vendrick flashes out the safety up top side, very easy then for Bliss just to walk on forward and take down any stragglers left behind. Finally, we find ourselves in a game state where a Baron actually spawns. Would you believe it?
Whoa!
20 minutes on the dot. Bliss says, all right, we've had enough. Let's end this game.
Yeah, there's going to be a pretty easy pickup of Baron for the Bliss members, and I think that, if they do want to just play 2 lanes, Baron up those 2 lanes and go for the end, they absolutely can. They do have the tools to be able to end this game, but they do have the option to go down to the bot side, get the triple inhibitor, play for that, path of least resistance, and, win a very comfortable game. But that is not the Bliss we know. They are very aggressive. They don't have the blue onto Violet, so you're going to be able to spam out all those spells that he now wants to, and it's just going to be 2 lanes, ults going out, and just aggression from this team right now.
Certainly will be. It's a case of who wants to try and showcase that the spotlight should be on me right now. We've got buffs, we've got item spikes, we've got power like you would not believe. Solar Flare is good, but the Glacial Path not to be used because the Flash gets burnt instead there by Sovereign. They begin yet again their siege towards the Nexus. Only 2 towers remain. That 3rd inhibitor, forget about it. We've got 2 waves pushed in with the supers, and that is enough for us. Kevy the focus right now, 1v1 up against Woodon. Suddenly gets pounced upon and says, that's not fair. The Belloc won't proc because he dies in a heartbeat, as do those structures. 2 Nexus turrets removed, the Nexus exposed, and the Fountain trying to lure the members of Bliss in to make the scoreline look a little bit more even. It's not to be the case. It's an ace, it's a game-ending play, and it's a series that ends with a Bliss 2-0.
They tried the end scheme, they tried to fight it out, but it's just a bit too much of a, gold lead, a lot of experience lead on the Bliss members, and I think it's a really, clean showing from Bliss. We expected them to come into this week, after the week off, we didn't get to really see what the, these teams really look like, but I think Bliss solidified on what they believe is the correct meta. They can play a lot of these champions that we consider strong, and I think they are contenders going forward into playoffs.
I agree. I certainly do agree. They are the team to keep your eye on. They've locked in themselves with that 2nd spot with 18 points there, making it pretty impossible then for Antic to try and take that one away. With their upper brackets position already secured, I don't think they'll really mind. Either way though, that does it for this one. Another series to follow right after this, but we have to jump to a break, so we'll see you soon.